There's a game releasing this week where you join a cult, hunt wealthy people through a forest, and feed them to a pit. That premise alone should tell you it's been a solid week for hidden gems on Steam. Here's what's worth your time. Any game that asks you to hunt wealthy people in a forest to feed a pit has already done most of the marketing work. Feed the Pit comes from Curious Fox Socks and launches with Act 1 first, with Acts 2 and 3 planned as free updates later. You join a society, track down your targets through a dangerous investigative card game and navigate whatever horrors are waiting in the forest between you and them. The class resentment angle is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. There is something deeply satisfying about a game that has looked at the current economic landscape and concluded that a pit is the appropriate response. Act 1 alone is enough reason to wishlist it now. Most Alien Contact games eventually involve someone being chased down a corridor. The message from deep space goes in a considerably nerdier direction. You play as a missions translator, trying to decode an interstellar signal using mathematics, science, and universal constants. The same underlying logic that shaped the golden record aboard Voyager 1, which the developer cites as the direct inspiration. There are no corridors and no chase. Just you, the signal, and the slow realization of what it might be saying. It sounds like a rival for people who did well in maths, and have remained quietly smug about it ever since. This is the puzzle pick of the week. HYPERWIRED solves an old space shooter problem by giving your ship a plug. Your ship has a cable hanging from it, and you wire yourself into sockets across a procedurally generated galaxy to recharge, gather upgrades and progress. Once plugged in, your movement is limited by the cable range, which turns a simple idea into a readable tactical constraint. You have to think about where you anchor before you commit. The whole thing is immediately legible from one screenshot, which is the sign of a mechanic that actually works. It also gives space exploration the specific energy of trying to vacuum a room when the socket is slightly too far away from the corner. Desk Space understands that the real fantasy is not commanding a fleet of spaceships. The real fantasy is pretending where to work while the spaceships make money in the corner of your monitor. You mine asteroids, trade with stations, upgrade ships, deploy pirates, and unlock something the Steam page labels only as redacted, which is either a late game feature or a joke, and at this stage either is fine. It's designed to be pinned to your desktop or left running on a second monitor while you do, in the developer's own words, more important things. As workspace plausible deniability goes, this is at least more creative than a spreadsheet. "10 days is apparently all science gets to decide whether a mysterious new species is a discovery, a threat, or the beginning of something considerably worse. TELLURICENE puts you in the role of the nation's top researchers as a strange species spreads rapidly across the country. You study it, piece together the truth through whatever evidence you can gather, and determine what future the nation gets. The itch demo frames this as Project Sporesight, which is exactly the kind of government initiative that sounds reasonable in the first briefing and catastrophic by the third. The countdown structure keeps the pressure on from the moment you start, and institutional dread makes every clipboard feel suspicious. Medical games usually ask you to be calm, precise and professional. Dr. Pigeon Simulator has looked at that tradition and added trolls. You manage your own hospital, treat patients, expand treatment areas, upgrade your skills, and defend the building from disruptive trolls by physically slapping them, which is described on the Steam page as action gameplay, suggesting the NHS has had another difficult week. The trailer makes this far more coherent than the premise has any right to be. Hospital management, action combat, and a pigeon with a stethoscope should not combine into something worth watching, and yet here we are. The licensing implications alone would make for a better game than most of what's releasing this month. The late night food run has always had horror potential, and Beso's Shawarma is the first game I've seen that properly commits to it. A strange call leads you through empty streets to a sketchy shawarma shop. You talk to odd characters, make a choice you probably shouldn't, and find yourself trapped in a looping nightmare you have to escape. It's short, narrative-driven horror from Satsminda Studio, and at around 100 followers when I checked, it sits exactly where this series is meant to be looking. The appeal is specificity. A cursed mansion is fine, but there is something much more unsettling about horror that begins with a deeply believable mistake of thinking a late night kebab will improve your life. Lullabies Made of Static closes the week quietly. Humanity is gone. You explore the ruins of a post-apocalyptic megalopolis surrounded by brutalist factories, collecting forgotten cassettes that hold recordings of what human emotions once felt like. The premise is lovely in a deep, bleak sort of way. A game less interested in survival than in memory, less interested in action than what it gets left behind. Techno Studio have built something small and specific, and when I checked it was sitting under 100 followers. That's the kind of number that means a game can vanish without anyone noticing. Links are in the description, don't let this one disappear. 8 games, all dropping between the 29th of June and the 5th of July. Feed the Pit if you want something with genuine teeth. Lullabies Made of Static if you want something quiet. Everything else is in the description. If this is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe, like, all that jazz. I'm back next week with more hidden gems. Bye.